So, it is 9 o'clock. It is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025, at 9 a.m. I'd like to welcome you to the Board of Commissioners meeting of the Village District of Idleways. After this call to order, the first thing we do is approve the agenda. And I see we're going to approve minutes of the 3rd and the 4th of June. And I always question whether we're going to have a non-public session at the end of this meeting.
I'm not aware of anything we need to discuss in
So
non-public.
we have no need for that.
Okay.
And I'll note that we have a hearing scheduled for this Saturday. Next week's meeting is actually on a Wednesday at the regular time in this room,
Correct.
but it's on a Wednesday, June 18th. So I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as it is.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 on the agenda, and then we move to the minutes of June 3rd. I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the minutes of June 3rd. Shall we lump June 4th in with it and do it all at once?
It's all on one document, so
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
June 3rd and 4th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Aye.
You don't have any changes?
Oh, I do.
Okay. So you-
Right in the very first sentence, the Board of Commissioners met at 9 a.m. on May 20th, 2025. We met on June 3rd, and then again on June 4th.
That's a leftover.
It
Oh.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I understand. It's a templated thing. I get that. We do that all the time. All right, then if we go down to the DPW report, bullet point number 3, one beaver has been trapped at the dam. The beaver was not trapped at the dam. The beaver was trapped at the Big Loop culvert. Or
Yes.
in the Banfield Brook. What would be the correct location of that beaver being trapped?
Well, I mean, I
The beaver was
don't
at
know
the dam.
exactly where it was trapped. I mean, I don't know where the trap.
Let's just say Big Loop culvert because that was the.
That's where the beaver
That's where their whole.
dam
Okay.
is.
Yes.
And that's
Very
where they
good.
build dams.
Yes.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Okay.
But where the traps were set,
Okay.
All right, so
Okay.
just replace dam with the Big Loop culvert.
Okay.
Then, right above that, bullet point 2, the very last sentence says Nancy Cole second. Just add a little s, seconds. And the motion is passed 3.0. Just a little one of those nits. Then if you go to page 2, under Mark's Commissioner's Report, the very last bullet point and the second to last sentence, I'm a little confused by this. It says, there is also the Como Vault project we wish to start. Is that which mean to we wish to start?
Probably wish.
Wish to start. So change which to wish or intend. Maybe intend is a better
Okay.
because
Yeah.
wish sounds too wishy-washy.
All right, great.
So intend is yes. We will. This is the path forward. Then I think I got two more little ones. I think. Okay. If you go to page 3, part 12, resume public session. First sentence: Commissioners and the 2 DPW employees walked Tusis and the gravel section Appenville. Just say section of Appenville. Add an ad.
Gravel
of-
section of?
of Appenville. And then the final sentence says 22 Appenville Way was marked as we may have to cut away some asphalt and I believe it's supposed to be at end as opposed to
At end.
and, at end
Yep.
of driveway to fix the drainage issue. And zip, that's it. All I have.
I had one of those little knit things.
Nits, yeah.
In addition, up at the very beginning, when you say who's here,
Oh,
foreman should have an E.
gotcha.
It's-
Thank you.
Oh, good catch.
And I think that's
We all
a
can't be
historical, it's quite possibly a historical thing that I just didn't notice on prior minutes, but yeah, there should be an E in there.
They're gonna start rating the fixes now.
Great.
So 2 points.
And
Well, Wood is gonna start writing them now.
No. I'm strictly a reviewer. I'm an editor. Should we have a DPW foreman? It sounds more. That's a real good title as opposed to just foreman. There's foremans of lots of things. DPW is specific. I don't care, but
I'm correcting the spelling of foreman.
okay.
All set?
Yes.
That's it?
All in favor with?
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
Sean.
Big Loop
Favor
was
with
the only
those
other one I had.
corrections? Say aye,
Aye.
3-0.
Well,
Thank you.
phonetically, it was correct.
And then at 9:05, we move to the approval of an operations and payroll manifest of the amount of $16,858.35. I'll make a motion to discuss and approve this manifest.
Second.
Aye.
So what boosted it up to 16,000 is we have $5,160 to purchase 3,000 gallons of calcium chloride for dust control of roads.
Yep, which did go up. I sent
What was that, by two
notification
hundred
of
seventy, you
that,
said?
so,
Someday I'll have the time to really grok calcium chloride. Let's see, and then we have buying electricity for water services and general government. We have a bill of $263.07 for general government and $213.62 for water services. That's a split, I believe.
yep, it's the water
And
portion.
then there's electricity for water services of $969.72. That has to be powering the DPW 1A well. You have miscellaneous tools, water spouts and gas cans. And then there's payroll, including payroll of the officers. Any further discussion on this manifest of $16,858.35?
Nope.
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
3-0 on that. And then we move to a water manifest of $1,094.74. And there's two items on this. One is electricity, and this is the same number. This is paying for the pump houses,
It's strictly pump houses.
straight from the water budget.
Correct.
Right. And then we're paying Green Estate Analytical for testing the Summit and the Youngfrau pump stations. And that's $161. That's the total of $1,094.74. All in favor of this manifest, say aye.
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 3-0 on that manifest. So at 9:08, we move to the DPW report.
Okay. So, we have driveway application for 48 Adelboden there.
It's his, we're looking for him to submit a driveway
This is the
out.
Class 6 road
Yeah,
that we all looked at.
Oh, okay, that's that part of it.
it
Okay,
is.
I never,
So,
And she's looking for
Put
us
that
to
with
actually set the
Adelboden.
date and time. We asked him
Correct.
to set a
Right.
meeting within the next 4 weeks.
Okay.
His answer came back, I'm available, you set the meeting.
correct.
So I'll make a motion that we invite him to come to next week's meeting at, and let's pick a time where,
He shows up.
well, that we're, if Jeff is gonna do his usual time next week, we'll have him appear as
Okay.
we figure Jeff's finishing up. So 9:30? That makes sense? We doing anything special next week that,
No, we're gonna go through the normal, we're already taking 10 minutes to go get up to the DPW report. So you wanna do the DPW report, then, the property owner of 48 Adelboden?
and if we
Okay.
finish early with Jeff, we'll continue down the agenda and stop and go when he gets here.
Okay,
Okay.
so I guess, Jeff, you need to do your report in about 20 minutes next week.
I'll make it long.
No, he makes it, however long it takes him.
Right.
I'll ramble on.
Well, we're gonna invite the property owner for 9:30, are we
It
not?
doesn't have to be precise, we're just not gonna waste his time telling him to get here at 9.
Yeah,
We'll
okay,
see the
Right.
manifests in minutes and.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's the motion is that we invite him to come next week
Yeah.
at 9:30.
Yep.
Second.
Any
Aye.
further discussion? How do you vote?
Aye.
3-0 on inviting him,
Great.
and
So Albany Service Center, getting prepared to do the trucking, and getting the ditching going with the big truck, it needs rear tires. the rear tires are pretty smoked on that thing. So I had them give me an estimate. He's got the tires in stock, mounted and balanced. We're looking at $1,609.16.
I'll make a motion to discuss and approve that tire purchase.
Second,
Aye. This is just for the rear tires?
Yes, the front tires are in good shape. See what happens when you chain that thing up. I mean, they're worn as well, but when you chain them up as well, the chains tend to chew into those knobby tires that we go with on the rear tires of the truck. So they tend to, and they're retreaded tires, I believe. So they, you get them a little cheaper, but they do get chewed up, and they're in
Okay,
need to be in
just wanted to know
place.
why.
So
They weren't wearing evenly. Okay.
right.
All right.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
3-0 on the tires.
Do we have a sheet for
I do.
them to sign? Okay.
While they were putting the tires on, I'll get the truck over there to look at the tire, to put the tires on. The tarp is, the arms of the tarp are all out of whack from,
Oh,
years ago and a certain legacy issue. So I don't know if we could have them take a look at that as well while they got it there to reset the tarp. Cause again, doing some trucking, you want that tarp to go
Yeah,
down.
we want the top on
properly.
16 covering the loads.
Right, and also loading the truck because of the way it's all cocked from being whacked a few times.
It's in the way.
It gets in the way, so if he could, we may have a set of arms up there, we had at one point, we did fix them at one point years ago. So I'm not positive, I gotta look up above on a shelf there, but,
So what do you want the motion to be? Is to have Albany look at it, or you wanna look to see what you have first?
well, no, I mean, I'll see what I have, I bring them over there for him to use, it'd save us from having to buy some new arms if we have them. But I think
So one way or another, you want Albany to fix the arms.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we have Albany Service Center fix the arms,
the tarp,
hopefully
Tarp arms?
using
Existing parts
existing
that,
equipment, but if not,
right,
fix it.
right.
Second,
aye.
aye.
3-0.
We did a little grade on the Little Shore last week. Put some calcium, some water, and rolled that. In the parking area at Hutwell, we did that as well. We did get the Beaver Dam punched out, and got the pipe flowing, the culvert flowing at Big Loop. And haven't seen any more new cuttings in there or all, so that's somewhat of a good news right now.
Good.
I gotta contact him and see, where he's at and get him to submit a bill for the one beaver that he did get. Yeah, and hopefully, it's hard to believe one was the culprit, but let's keep our fingers crossed. We also got a chain to use for pulling the tire through when we need to. Hopefully we won't need to anymore, but so we set that up where it should work a little easier for us. Got our 20-mile-an-hour signs up.
That was good.
Yeah.
You wouldn't notice it because you don't drive, did you notice
I
it?
have noticed that, but I have a question about the chain. How is that secured? Because invariably, as the weather gets warm and a lot of people come out on both ponds, there could be kayakers going through that culvert, a big loop, and can anybody pull that chain through and take it with them, or is it secured so it can't be?
It's secured on the end where the grate was, and it's very heavy. So if somebody thinks they're gonna walk off with it,
Okay.
number
that's
one,
probably-
it's chained up, and number
Yes,
two
a
is
kayak will not be able to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's all.
A kayak has to have a backhoe.
Yeah.
it's
okay then.
yeah, it's pretty rugged. So
Wow.
I mean,
It just so happens.
hopefully it stays in place and we don't have any issues.
Okay. Yes.
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I picked up the floats from Naples for the rafts. So we have those in stock. Hopefully we don't need them, but they're ready to go. God forbid, something goes south with one of those. And we've just been cleaning out the culvert pipes, getting ready for the flushing. We dug that one out on 7 Middle Shore, which, oof. And we talked to Ian about that shut off, and he remembers that well. Excuse me. He had ended up cutting the pipe back because at one point, and I think I remember this now when I first started, that culvert went right up to the shut off. It was like right at the end of it, so there was never any digging it. He cut the culvert back, and you could just barely fit the bucket between the culvert and the shut off. So he's gonna take a look at it and put it on the list and hopefully push that back towards the house out of the ditch line. The ditch meaning where the culvert drains. If you guys drove by there, you'd see exactly what I'm talking about.
Is
We
that,
dug that
is
out
that near
yesterday.
Geneva or is that near?
Right on the corner of Geneva, the black house there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So that's ready to be flushed, and we got the one down, you know, we'll be getting them all. We did find, the end of a culvert on Presidential that we were suspect of knowing where it was with the metal detector. We didn't have any luck on the one, on the class 6 or the one on, Appernvale, but Ian said he'd take a ride up there with us, or one of his guys who run the metal detector a little bit better than we do, and, see if he can't give us a hand finding the end of those 2 culverts. But, that and I don't know if you noticed what happened over there, 28 Burn. They did a little work on the lot there and the driveway. Take a look at that.
Yes, it was hard for me not to.
Right. Well,
I looked at it, yeah.
okay, so you guys are aware what's going on there or what happened.
I don't know what happened.
I'm not.
He
Well, a driveway is
resurfaced,
about 62 feet wide now.
he resurfaced his driveway, took a bunch of trees out that were dead, and the final project, at the end, the driveway is way more than 20 feet. How's
Okay.
that?
Nor
Like
did he-
wide,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And he
open.
didn't submit any application to, do this work, driveway permit.
he wouldn't need one.
It's maintenance.
It's maintenance.
Maintenance, okay.
To change the entrance to over 20 feet.
Yeah.
Well,
That was
That's
the
what
end
I was
result, the
concerned.
end result is that it did that. So, yes, no permit, no anything, but yes, I think, I don't know if it's gonna create an issue. But we should possibly get in touch with the property owner and say that the driveway's too wide.
Here's the thing about that. If we drove around, how many driveways would we find are the entire frontage of a house lot? There's 2 houses from you up on Idlewild Drive,
Yep,
and there's one up on Oak Ridge that's paved with a
Yep.
telephone pole in the middle of the paved driveway.
yep,
And so, do we go back after all of those? And I've seen the village in the past tell someone that they made the driveway too wide, and they put a couple of railroad ties in, and then mysteriously those railroad ties get up and walk in the middle of the night, and it turns back into a very wide driveway opening, so. I've seen houses on Oak Ridge Road have to put boulders. You know what I'm talking about? Up 19, above 19, had a truck, I think, had to do it. So, it looks pretty inconsistent to me as to what the village does. Particularly if it's not damaging the road. The driveways are supposed to be limited to 20 feet for road snow plowing. Is that there's a snowbank except for 20 feet with his driveway opening. But now we have houses where there's no snowbank for 60 feet. And that usually means they're piling snow up higher because they're moving more snow out of the way of the driveway. And that makes for blind driveway exiting. But the village just let this happen. So I'm having a hard time going after somebody now when there's,
well, last year we, the end of Chicora Review, his driveway was too wide, and we asked him to put things on the ends of either one so that it would limit the actual driveway.
so now we're gonna do a picnic to see what that looks like now.
So, yeah, I haven't been up there.
Yeah. Any bets?
It's,
What
Is
things
that the
were
really
they?
nice house we looked at?
Rocks?
Across from your old house?
yeah,
Whatever you put there.
It was a planter and some other things that
Oh,
he put over.
oh.
That he put over.
Which get obscured by the first, second, third snowfall.
Mm-hmm.
And then the driveway pile comes,
Oh, boy.
and little by little,
Well, would assume they're moving them away when the winter comes.
that's not the point, that's the whole point of it is. This is the
You can't
dilemma.
assume, Jen.
I guess not. Oh, man.
So, focusing this back on burn. Do you wanna take any action on that driveway change?
But the first question is it gonna be problematic come snow plowing?
I don't believe we're gonna have a problem with how that came out of that job, but they took all the stone that was around going onto Barden out. And then all of a sudden they went back and put it back. And when they took it out, they recreated the ditch and did a nice job. But when they put the stone back, that's gotten into the road and the ditch line there, and that could be a bit of a problem with the way they put that 3-inch stone back in. So
Trying to picture this, is this,
that's probably gonna get winged right up into their yards.
It's the opposite corner of Barden from number 30.
I'll just have to drive, it's not the new construction,
No,
no, it's, okay.
no, it's 28 Burn.
Right, it's the corner of Barton.
Corners
You
of
know the
Barden.
house that used to have a carved eagle on a tree, a big statue type thing?
Okay,
If that rings a bell, it's that house, it's a gray house.
I just gotta go look, it doesn't ring
Yeah.
a bell, but okay.
But, you know, so I don't see a problem with what they did with the driveway. So to
But if
speak.
they put stone in the ditch line,
Right,
that's a separate,
that's a separate issue.
yeah.
All right, so the question is, we have a driveway ordinance, which we know we're gonna work on, and any new driveway permits, we're saying it's gotta be 20 feet, that's it. But now you have all these existing driveways that are being modified that put it, you know, it no longer follows the ordinance, even though originally probably did, if they took out and did it properly according to the ordinance.
Yeah.
So,
But it doesn't seem to be presenting a problem to have a wide driveway opening to the DPW these days.
In this instance,
That burn,
right,
wasn't that on
or
the
all the existing ones that are oversized entrances. You don't have
Right.
ones that are problems.
right.
I mean, you guys don't even complain about a driveway where the vehicles are out into the road, hanging into the road.
Well, we don't like it, but we don't really complain.
You've been doing it for a number of years, like
Right.
on Middle Shore.
Oh, yeah, well, even when they plow, when we're plowing, I mean, people like to park their vehicles right at the end of their driveways, but that's a whole other story too. But no, you
So
know,
back to Burnham. You wanna look at Burnham, we'll discuss it next week?
Yeah,
We'll kick that can down 1 week's road.
yeah, I mean, I'm okay dealing with these things on a case-by-case basis, but should we not have been notified, should the homeowner not have taken out a permit or something saying, this is what I'd like to do for a driveway, can I get approval for it?
Here's another aspect to this, while you're thinking about it.
Okay,
There are many places that we don't have ditches. The case in point is, we just down in Bergdorf, and we were looking at a driveway applying that didn't have a ditch in front of it, and had a culvert and kind of a ditch further down the road. You guys looked at it later. There are a lot of these driveways where they're changing the width of it, and there's no ditch. If we want to put a ditch there, which we're going to ditch the village and have drainage improve from here on out, now you're looking at a culvert that has to be 60 feet long.
Because the wide
Because
of the.
if you're gonna let them access the whole driveway. So that's another problem, is that
yeah,
20 feet just happens to be the length of the standard culvert purchase. 30 means you're buying 2 and cutting 1 in half, which is expensive. So bear that in mind. So that's another thing, is that if we do go back and ditch and put culverts in, and right now the state law in Madison's ordinance, I believe, is the property owner buys the culvert. We'd be having them buy a 20-foot, put a 20-foot culvert in, and that's it. You have to drive through a ditch to get into the rest of the driveway that they opened up.
Or they pay for 30 feet worth of culvert, if that driveway is 30 feet long.
That would be
Wide.
outside the ordinance.
Yeah, I know.
So
That's-
we
And
would-
now we're into another ordinance.
Yeah, at that point, we would wanna
So this is messy.
limit
is
it to
messy.
20.
Yeah, 20 makes sense.
So, well, I'll think about it, you go look at Barden and Burn,
Yep.
28,
28, Brian?
28, yep.
Gray House. And we'll put this on the agenda for next week,
Sure.
we'll talk about this all year.
So, with that, we did unclog the culvert pipes, culverts in front of 51 and 53 Idlewise drives. They're those smaller blue brute driveway culverts that were filled with water, cause the water couldn't run because they were full of leaves. Now, the leaves had come down off the property into the culverts and gagged up all the pipes. So they couldn't get through the driveways into the pipe that goes across the road.
What were the addresses again on those?
51 and 53. It just sort of goes with the whole
Yeah,
rolling rocks, throwing sticks and brush and leaves into our ditch lines. It just can't happen.
51 and 53, which road?
Idlewise
yeah,
Drive.
that area is always, yeah.
You know, I get it, they're downhill, it's easy to just move the leaves downhill and put them somewhere where they disappear, but that's really not right.
So I took a look at Oak Ridge Road,
Yes,
and Jeff has been pointing, last year he pointed that homeowner apparently rolled rocks down out of his elevated driveway down the hill into the ditch, and then there are more there now. I took a picture of it that I can send.
I sent some to the office this morning, hopefully they went through.
So, we're modifying the highway and driveway ordinance, and I think that this is the opportunity to put things in there such as filling our ditches with anything, leaves,
Yeah, any debris.
sticks, rocks, causing us to have to do unusual maintenance to keep the ditch lines open.
Cause it's a drainage problem.
And when we walked Appinville Way, Tony was pointing out a driveway that comes downhill into the road and as a standard practice, pushes the snow across the road. And when the road is soft, he's taking the gravel off the road and pushing it into the opposite side of the road where it's mounded up, and
Into the woods.
so they're damaging the road and they're costing the taxpayers money of gravel that we have to buy to put back and go pick up to get it out of the way from where it's mounting up, so.
Yeah, the snow is, I have the snow in there as well, I mean, people, you know, the snow isn't supposed to be pushed across the road. So that's another thing that should be in that
It
ordinance.
should be spelled out in our ordinance that you
Revised
can't
as
do
well.
that. And there should be a penalty for anything that ends up in the ditch as a result of a,
Agreed.
Pretty sure that's in the driveway ordinance,
Well, it could be
Push it
both,
snow.
can't it?
but we can put it,
it's called the highway and parking ordinance.
Right.
And you're pointing out the driveway ordinance.
because
the-
I think the driveway ordinance is the one that says that you can't put snow across the road
It should be
and put
duplicated in
anything
here.
into it.
I agree,
It
it
should
should
be
be duplicated,
Yeah.
let's cover it.
Cause if, it's also highway
Right,
Yes,
and ditching. Well, the drainage system protection should be in
Drainage.
both of them actually.
right.
So, refresh my memory, I don't know, a year ago or something, we did write a letter to a property owner on Chikura View Drive, I believe, because he dropped all his sticks into the ditching and asked him to clear it, which I believe he did.
He did.
He did. But I guess we were prepared if nothing happened to mount a penalty, or I don't know what our thought processes were at the time, but that's what we're saying right now. We would issue a letter if they did that, saying you're in violation of these ordinances or this ordinance, clean it up or there's a penalty.
Right.
Yeah, I think we should have it in both ordinances, that's a great idea.
We're gonna talk about the hearing coming up this Saturday later.
Yeah, and we'll see where we wanna put that wording in.
Be a whole new section, cause there's nothing in it right now.
There is, it's gonna go into the road regulations section. It's just a matter of what the wording's gonna be.
Right.
So back to Jeff's DPW request.
So moving on with that, so a while, well, not a while, a couple of weeks ago, must have had a tree come down on Interlaken and by, Blendon and Interlaken. And they come and they did some kind of temporary work over there with the wires. And I think it's phone lines, the lower wire there, they kinda got something hanging by like a tree and then that wire that goes down to Blendon, it's really low. Like, I think if a triaxle come in, it could hook that wire, I don't know if there's a phone call we can make for them to come back and kinda fix that permanently, it's been a few weeks now since it's been hanging like that.
It's kinda odd that it's a black canister that looks like it's
Right,
almost 3 feet long,
yeah,
hanging just above the road,
yeah,
hanging.
Do we know who owns that equipment? Which
I'm guessing
utility
it's-
company? Spectrum or?
Spectrum.
My best guess is Fidium,
Oh,
and
jeez.
to have that piece of equipment just hanging there, I don't see a duplicate that was put up to replace it, they're just letting that hang until
right,
they find it economical to come back some year and take that eyesore out of the way. Or Fidium strung that whole neighborhood and there's no Fidium customers
on it,
on that line. So that's why they're not racing out to fix it, because no one's complaining that that line is broken.
well, the line may be working, my thing is, and I don't really,
It can't be working.
yeah, I don't know, I know it's hanging really low
It's hanging
as you go
far
down
off the
Blendon.
road, yeah.
And it could, if we drove the grader down there, it might hook the roof of the grader, it may hook a truck, I mean, the line is really low, and that's what's concerning to me.
So where's the line? What road?
It's
Blendon,
on Interlaken,
Interlaken to Blendon, it kinda takes that corner right there.
and there's a piece of telephone pole of the original pole that snapped during
Right.
that tree fall that is still suspended
Right,
30 feet in the air on the new pole that was put in there.
right,
So they raced out, drilled and jammed a new pole in place and hung it by the old pole by suspending 6 feet of telephone pole cut off up in the air. So who would answer the question as to whose utility is hanging there? You call any of them, they have to come out and look at it.
There are other utility lines along with this?
I think there's just that one.
well, this is the
It's
one
not
that's hanging
power.
low.
The
Yeah,
power's,
But
It's,
is
it's
it-
below the power's the high one, so I
Right.
don't think it's Eversource, I
So
believe.
can't Eversource like kind of pinpoint what other lines are attached? Maybe?
that's what I'm saying is calling any of the three, they could identify whose it is
Yeah.
that's hanging if
Right.
it's not theirs. I see a little piece of orange about this long marking one of the cables that's hanging down, which usually indicates fiber, which is why I say Fidium.
It could be Fidium, yeah.
So I would suggest we start with Fidium and not make another company incur the expense of coming out to say who it
It's not
is.
us.
Our best, my best guess is Fidium. I'd like to start with Fidium.
Yeah, I'll start with Fidium, give them a call, maybe send them a picture if need be, and, tell them these are our roads, they need to fix it.
Right,
Yeah, I have a picture of that from the time that it happened.
you do, okay. Okay, and besides that, let's, I know Doug wants to speak here on about the kayak rack there on the Idlewild Beach, so if we could get a little conversation about that,
Sure.
move forward with that.
Just a few minute discussion, we went out, our team went out Saturday, took a look at it. I hadn't walked over there to look, and I was shocked at what I saw there. It's either a wetland or a vernal pool, in my opinion. It's 3 to 6 inches of water, where all kayak racks are there. And I made a sketch and have a little reference material here just to facilitate this discussion. We do have a proposal, but there's no easy solution to this. I should preface it by saying that. I'll send you that by email too.
Thanks.
on the sketch, you can see where the current racks are. And that whole area is wet, almost all the way over to the kiosk. Hard to believe, but in the woods there, it's wet. The grassy area out in front of the kayak racks is largely wet. I did go into the woods to the right to see how far in it went, but it seemed to me that the whole area was wet. The options that I can see, we talked about filling it with gravel, and Nancy, I think you indicated that that would not be possible. DES would not like that.
Yeah, there's, I know we needed to get permits to put
Even
10 cubic yards of sand.
Sand, yeah.
So I don't know
Wow.
if DES would be very happy if we wanted to do something like that.
The next one, I think, Mark, you suggested that maybe fill it with 3/4 crushed. I think it would take a truckload. This is an enormous space, and.
I wasn't talking about filling it,
No.
I was talking about a path to
Make
get
it
a
a
boat
path,
off
yeah.
of it.
It might, we'd have to make a walkway over to the beach, because that area is also wet. So we'd have to have paths at the kayak racks and then a walkway. I'm guessing that DES would not be very positive about filling a wetland or a vernal pool, either one. So I'm guessing that that's probably not a viable option. The one that we came up with that might be workable, although it's gonna be a permitting nightmare, is where I wrote proposed. The discussion that we've had, you indicated you didn't want them on the beach. This is really off the beach. That little dotted line to the left of the proposed space is where the high grass begins in there. So I think in general, people are probably not gonna be sitting in there with beach chairs. And there's enough room between that edge of the beach and where it gets wet to put the 3 racks in. That's a possibility. The problem with this is, now, we have kayak racks that are within 8 feet of the beach, the boulder, 10 feet. That's not permitted anymore. That's years and years ago, before all these ordinances and requirements went in place. Now we have to look at DES management of the wetland, the shoreline area, which is 250 feet back. So we'd have to get a permit from them. And construction, by the way, according to the Madison ordinance, includes anything. You could build a wooden rack around your fire pit, that's considered construction, requiring a building permit. So we would have to go to Madison to get a building permit. The new racks would not be 75 feet or more from the shoreline. So that would, I talked with Bob Boyd yesterday, he said he would be required to reject the application, which would push it to the zoning board. So a long process, but I think that's the easiest and best overall solution. But I didn't want to start this without some input from you folks. It could be, we're probably looking at getting this resolved for next year. I can't imagine getting this all done this year because of the permitting steps that are required.
On your drawing, there's 3 boxes that say PT.
Picnic table.
Oh, okay.
So we discussed, I guess this is not an option either, but I seem to recall that the filling in with sand or gravel, all that was rejected in favor of like, sort of like a mini boardwalk to
We'd have to have
approach the
something-
existing.
Right, and if we do, the 3/4 crush would get the surface for at least the walkways around the kayak racks and a walkway over to the beach, up out of the water. But then we might have to top it off. I guess you can tell everybody they gotta wear flip-flops to walk on the crushed stone. But we might get some complaints requiring that we add a boardwalk on it. Again, that's a structure. Bob Boyd said that the crushed stone would probably be less of a problem, but the walkway would be a structure, which would require a building permit. No
Yeah,
fee.
yeah, but the point is, you'd be building that near the existing kayak racks, so you
Right.
wouldn't be worrying about these 75-foot, wouldn't have to get a variance for that distance from the
I'm not sure.
Water's Edge.
It's a modification. I went through the whole DES site last night, and it does talk about renovations and so forth. I think they wanna know about anything that's going on. And,
Maybe I could shorten
question
this
whether
and say
they
I'm
need-
not in favor of making these canoe racks go closer to the edge of the sandy beach. I'm not in favor of moving them.
Neither am I.
I think pursuing, even if it takes a building permit, pursuing a boardwalk to walk into where these are, this has been a problem for
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah, long time. Looks
So-
like it's a pretty permanent problem.
And people have lived. So, I would be in favor of putting a boardwalk under the canoe racks so you can walk in and get your boat off the rack right where it is.
Yeah, I think that's the most direct approach. And the whole gravel and barefoot, that's a non-starter, you know, people, use common sense, people. Wear your flip-flops.
Well,
So
if
I
you do
just-
the board, you don't need gravel.
True,
Right,
true.
You need pressure treated legs that lift the boardwalk higher than the high water mark.
Still wear flip-flops, splinters. I mean, thank you, Doug, this is great that you looked into all this, but I agree, bringing the kayak racks over to the proposed is just,
Once they're there, they'll never move, and then the expansion happens there. And I have to believe that the beaches are gonna have more and more people on them over time, and that's sacred ground to give up. I see the sand expanding into where the proposed racks are.
Mm-hmm.
People do sit up chairs there when the beaches are really crowded, cause there's no place else to sit.
Yeah, there is sand there now.
okay.
So your preference would be to not do the crushed stone, but to permit walkways? And just put them on posts to get them up above the water?
Yeah. That,
The bottom racks are almost underwater in there now, so we probably have to raise the rails on the bottom, or add another rail that's higher in there, so the people on the bottom don't have their boats float away after a rainstorm.
always something.
All set?
Yeah, so we'll go back and take a look at that in more detail then.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
I'm thrilled with the reports that are coming in, that the new phone works with email, and that Jeff is taking pictures from the field.
Yep.
One of the pictures you showed had the rebar welded washer pin down of the,
Customized pins for the fabric.
yeah, one of them showed it lifted out of the ground a little bit.
It did.
And
yeah.
what's your theory on that?
Oh,
Alien spaceship?
one was like about four. Oh
Yeah.
no, I was showing you the pins, and
Oh.
then we drove it in.
Oh, gotcha.
That was just kind of
Okay.
showcasing the beautiful pins that I
are
learned how
nice.
to weld to fabricate.
Where was this? I don't know if I saw which pictures. This is not.
Grissom.
Oh,
The
the,
Grissom swale.
This
I didn't
well.
see any
Swell.
marks around it,
Okay.
Right.
and I thought, okay, so the spaceship came in and beam came down.
No, Tony had taught me a little welding that day when we were putting those together, so I was showcasing the pin with that picture with it being a few inches above the fabric. So no, they're
I'd
all
like to make
drove
a
in.
motion that we bonus Jennifer and Jeff in the next pay cycle, $200 each for getting this going. I see this as monumental. After watching the way the village has performed,
Yeah.
it used to be this way.
Second. Now,
Right,
now,
right.
now let's continue the discussion.
Yeah. No. I agree. I think the only thing that still needs to be done, but it's not that hard at all, is a way of organizing these photos on the office computer so they can be accessed in the future when
Agreed.
needed.
Agreed.
But other than that, it's all on the right path.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Thank you.
Okay, so, did we make a motion?
Yep.
Yes?
Okay.
Yep.
I made the motion, Nancy
Seconded.
was late in seconding it.
I think she was just excited
Yeah.
about all the good
Well,
stuff.
no, the discussion took off before she had a chance to
They started
breathe,
saying things
Yeah.
before I had a
Right.
chance.
Yeah,
And then there was a discussion and Wood pointed out he wants you to do more work.
well, no, that was all part of it anyway,
Yeah,
that's the
I'm just
whole
kidding.
part of the thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so it was 3-0. Next pay cycle.
okay, but, okay. So what was it specifically again,
200
I'm
each.
sorry, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we're all set?
I'm good. That's all you guys have?
You gonna stay for Mark's report, Commissioner's report?
Yeah, let
You
me
need
cover
me
the
to?
things
I
that.
don't know.
Yes.
So we have Simply Water's on time, starting, their equipment's on site that we talked about. We're gonna notify the sheriff's department that
Yeah,
Aspen and Bergdorf will be closed.
is Bergdorf closed too?
It will be as they go down. They're gonna work on the other end of where the pipe's going, which is number 5 Bergdorf, and
Number 5, okay,
Ian will be digging down there to
Number
get the
5.
adapter and the valve in there.
okay,
Jeff
10th,
talked
11th,
about
and
them prepping because Belmore will be here next Tuesday,
Right.
and the new employee starts next Monday, if according to schedule.
Uh-huh.
And you may go start up in Valway
Yeah.
Monday and then break for Belmore coming in Tuesday and Wednesday, it sounds
Right.
like, or maybe some of you will continue, I don't know.
Yeah,
however
depending
you
on
wanna
how
do
we
it.
are with the pipes, the culverts being prepped up and.
So, I talked to the engineer about rock and ledge being part of the water main installation. Whenever we go into the ground with a contractor, there's always the risk of the unknown
Yep.
coming into pure ledge, and that stops everything, and you have to decide whether you're gonna blast or hammer or.
jeez,
Go around it.
So, in talking to Nick's schedule last week, the engineer, he said, well, your options are you could hire a drilling company, and I think the last board paid $1,300 to have the drilling company not come, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So that's expensive. You pay them to not come is
Yeah.
$1,300.
If I
Right.
remember, they showed up, turned in Idlewives Drive, and then got told to drive away. Sorry.
So then he
Legacy.
said, or the other option is to have have a contractor dig test holes.
Yeah.
Which had me think that if I can get one of our 2 preferred pipe installing companies to come in and dig the test holes and document what's in the test holes with pictures and descriptions of whether we're hitting glacier rocks bigger than 2 cubic yards or whether we're hitting ledge, particularly near the culvert. The engineer says the new water main, the new 4-inch water main going down Bergdorf under the culvert, the top of the 4-inch pipe should be 18 inches from the bottom of the culvert across Bergdorf. If there's rock under there, that's the worst case situation. So, I started to talk to one of the contractors, and I'm gonna make a motion at the end of this to say that we hire him to come in and do the test holes and document what we find with the exploratory 8 to 10 foot holes that he cuts in. 2 of them clearly are gonna be on each side of the culvert, so that we have a good picture of what they're gonna hit when they go under it. Bergdorf is also on the list to be ditched under the FEMA project plan. So I asked this contractor if he could come in and dig the test holes and ditch Bergdorf under one mobilization. He brings his machine with the articulating bucket, which he's got me picturing that it's even faster than the grader doing the V ditching, in the fact that this thing turns, he shapes the ditch, but he swings it around, turns it around, and puts it in a 10-wheeler,
I've seen that.
right? So there's no coming behind
That's cool.
the grader with a loader to get it up into what we're specifying as a 6-wheeler that has to turn in front of the backhoe to do it as efficiently as these guys do it. That we'll see whether it's even faster to have this machine do it, because he takes it right up and swings it around behind him and puts it in a 10-wheeler, which is sitting facing the other way, ready to go and get rid of it. So, I'm gonna make a motion that we hire R.L. Heath and Son to, I'll write it up too, I have to word this so that if you approve it, I'm writing it up in next, you get to see what this, we'll have a document to what he's doing, how many test holes and so forth. So I'm in the middle of the motion. I'll make a motion that we hire R.L. Heath and Son at a rate of $9,000 to do the test holes in the FEMA ditching of Bergdorf.
Second.
And he's got a starting date of the 16th too, which is a bonus for us.
I have one question, this out of ignorance, but
Yep.
obviously, I know about, they were gonna, at one point, do test drilling, and there was concern about hitting the actual water mains in that area, and that's what called it off, and that was a waste of money, obviously. And that's a good way to see what's under there, but what if, can also ground penetrating radar detect ledge rock or stuff like that down below, or?
It's usually used to find water pipes. I don't know of anybody that's used radar to look for rock or ledge.
Okay. I just
They
wondered.
might, but I don't know of anybody. I've never heard any engineer talk about using it.
Okay, then it probably isn't, it's probably used to,
And I know it's not so good at finding water mains that are made out of plastic.
it's gotta be more metallic, okay.
And the thing about this is, the beauty of this Bergdorf project is there is no water main.
Yes,
So we're not gonna hit
we're
it.
not gonna run into that problem, yes. Okay, that's all, otherwise, I'm fully in support of this plan. I was just wondering if there's other methods to try and detect what's under those roads before we dig.
So may I ask, the $9,000 is to do the test drilling,
Test holes,
test holes?
yes,
Is this,
and
and ditching?
ditch Bergdorf,
So this is strictly just Bergdorf?
just Bergdorf.
Okay,
So he comes in under one mobilization, which is
Yeah.
thousands of dollars to move the equipment in, and does both jobs,
okay,
and he's projecting 2 days.
yep. Starting on the 16th, okay. Second, somebody?
She did, we
I
voted.
did.
Okay,
We voted 3-0 on that.
all right, great.
So that's one thing I wanted to fill you in on, that's late breaking news, I didn't know that when I saw you
Right.
guys yesterday.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
encouraging.
Then today, after this meeting,
That's squashed.
okay,
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that. It might
Alright.
be more like Friday or Monday now or something, but
and we're gonna move, Belmore is going to be pulling stuff out of catch basins and culverts. And they're going to expect us to handle where it goes after that.
right.
Are you thinking of, that this could go over to the new site that we're talking about?
No, I think we're gonna try to keep that right up back by the chips or something like that, up on building 2, or even on Burn.
So I'm gonna describe to the board, because I'm not sure that they've heard enough about this, about where we're looking to bring the overwhelming majority of all the ditching material, hundreds of cubic yards of stuff this summer and next summer, to a private property owner's property on Route 16 in Albany.
Yeah.
He's a relative of one of the part-time employee, Tony Eldridge, and he's looking to take as much material into this. I haven't seen it myself, that was what we were gonna do today.
I haven't either.
I need to take pictures, I need the GPS coordinates, I need to submit the form that Jennifer got me this morning to FEMA to say, this is where it's all going. Which is what we were gonna try to do today, but now we're holding off until maybe Friday or Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just so you're aware of that, that's,
Does this also require like something akin to a memorandum of understanding between the village district of Idlewise and the property owner?
Yes,
Yeah, we already have
both
the film.
forms.
Okay.
Jennifer
Form.
brought.
There should be two forms, a FEMA form and then our own form.
Well, FEMA says they're not sure what form the Idlewise DPW is talking about, that,
I might have one still from last
I
year.
kinda remember.
A different form?
Is it a form that we filled out to tell FEMA where it's going, but the property owner? did
No,
you
the
think-
property owner signed
signed
them
it?
too, so,
Yeah.
So if you can find that,
yeah, I think I,
Homeland
yeah.
Security and FEMA don't know what I'm talking about. when
That's
I-
funny.
Is it a standard form?
I mean, it's been since last year since I've looked at it.
What they said was, if you just give us some type of memorandum of understanding with the property owner, that's good.
Right,
And then I reminded them about GPS coordinates, and they said, yeah, right. Put the
Right.
Right.
So,
It's basically saying whatever we deliver, it becomes your. then
right,
we- we
we're not
own-
responsible for
It's
We're not
like a
responsible for
waiver.
anything, once we deliver it,
Yeah.
it's yours as is.
Right,
their regulations, they need to check with his wetlands, they need
Yeah,
to check whether
right.
there's historical graveyards that might be damaged in the process, and
Yeah,
they have a whole bunch of stuff that they have to do.
considerations, yes.
Right, to go a little beyond
Way
what
beyond,
our
right.
standard fill agreement goes.
right, like we're not, it says on there, that if I remember ours,
Some
you know, we're not
endangered
responsible
frog,
for any
yeah.
damage to the property. You
Right.
know, when I've always gone and checked them out, make sure, hey, where's your septic, where's your leach field, you know, is there a well over here, you know what I mean? And made sure that there wasn't any of that before I went and dumped on, but, you know, so we'll go through the standard procedure with all that here as well.
Another thing that we talked about early yesterday morning was, a 6-inch culvert on the corner of Bergdorf and Clausen,
Yes,
not Clausen, Constance.
Constance,
So I think that, we want Heath to talk to you guys.
yeah,
And you show them what you're talking about, where
Yeah.
you want him to pay particular attention. They have this weird culvert set up that I didn't see, so.
oh, been there forever, but yeah, there's yeah, it could have been a little clogged up there.
Oh, it exists?
Yeah, it
there?
exists, but
Oh,
it's only, like Mark said, like 6 inches, it's, can't even get a shovel in it.
So
It's
you might-
always flowed, I mean, you know, but it's just so small
It
and
might
it's,
be when we start replacing everything in
It's long, too.
2027, and we buy tractor trailer loads of culverts.
probably
like
a
we used
60
to.
footer, the way it angles across.
so you can't clean it out?
Right, so well, it makes it more difficult to clean. You
So I'll
can't
make a
clean the
note-
ends out because you can't stick a shovel in it.
I'll make a
Gotcha.
note that he has to talk to you about
Yep.
that setup.
Yep.
Um,
We'll show them that.
I didn't hear back from the roofer. I'll give him a call. The blower.
Okay, the blower, so I did review those emails and the pictures and all that. That, what that's saying is what we know. What that was telling you how to test for the back pressure
Right,
and what the back pressure's supposed to be, which are all things we've known already. And it also was talking about how to run a line to the tank, which is something John Deere doesn't want to address, which they're trying to come up with a thing with that. So it's knowledge, but it was all stuff we've known about the blower. It didn't really give us a new way to fix it and to
That's
make
why
it.
I think the email is not enough. Either you or Albany Service Center has to call this guy Justin.
Right.
Because what he said on the phone was not all in the email. He sent a picture that they got from a customer who solved the problem. And I have not seen the turbine blower up close enough when I'm talking to him to know what he's talking about.
Right.
Or the John Deere of how the hoses run on that. So I'm listening to him. As soon as he heard that we were blowing the seals out,
Right,
he said, "Oh, I know what that is,"
Yeah.
and said, "You gotta reduce the pressure by putting this T in." And he talked about a port on the side, I assumed of the turbine blower. But this is where whoever's gonna fix it
Right.
needs to talk to him.
yep,
It's not gonna be all in the email. He just sent the pictures of it.
yep,
So I don't
right.
know whether you wanna get Albany going on that.
Well, I know Alan could do that. He did it for the Volvo, but here again, what's gonna happen is we're gonna void our warranty through John Deere.
I talked to him about that, and he
Yeah.
said everything that's being done is all on the turbine side. There's no claim by John Deere that we're modifying the John Deere tractor.
Right,
Well,
That's where I'm saying,
right, I have to talk to him.
I'm listening to a guy, I don't know what the things look like, so I'm just trying to relay to you. He was excited to say they know what the problem is, they know they have a good solution, and he was sending pictures, but I know that that whoever's gonna actually do it needs to talk to him before they start into it.
Yeah.
So you can decide whether you wanna talk to him first with the equipment in front of you, so you can say, I see what you're talking about,
Yeah.
or you want Albany to talk to them first, or both,
Yeah,
you first,
directly.
then them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll talk to the guy, so I've got the email with his phone number and email on there, I could reach out to that Justin guy and see, because again, if it's, the way I read it, not being there in the conversation, but what he said in the email was all stuff and information that we've come across in the past.
Sounded like he wanted to have a gauge set up so that you can watch this thing while you're running the machine too.
Well, yeah, with the Elite, well, I think that's what the T setup is, so you could keep the gauge on there at all times. But again, that's the way I read it, and,
I'm saying, the
Right.
email's not telling you the story.
I got it. No, I understand that.
Okay, so you'll follow up with
Yeah,
Buffalo.
yes.
Let's see. That's all I have that would keep you here.
Okay.
anybody else have anything for Jeff before it goes? Nancy, no, okay,
Good job.
Nancy looks like she's thinking.
Well,
yeah,
Go
I didn't
for
know if we wanted him to stay for the discussion on the highway and parking ordinance.
interesting.
Oh, yeah, we might as well.
You know, especially if
It's
we're
on
gonna
there.
add new things that talk about putting things in ditches and things of that nature and
Before we
wording
do that, you
that.
have to remind me, how is it that we're changing this ordinance when the ordinance was voted on by the legislative body? You probably said that weeks ago, I just forget how we're doing this.
Because we had it as a warrant in
The last meeting?
this year's meeting that we would have the authority to change it.
Correct,
Okay, that answers that
And
question.
it passed unanimously.
So we had, so I don't remember the warrant article, but it basically gave the power back to us without changing it at that time.
Correct.
Okay,
Nancy was right on it,
But didn't you also say that the power to change ordinances
By law
by
is
law
with the Board of
is always with any
Commissioners.
board, selecting
Yes.
commissioners, not with the,
Yes, not with the legislative body.
okay,
right,
so we're covered every which way,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, no, I think Jeff should stick around
All
for,
right.
if that's okay with you, Jeff.
Sure.
Tony's not out there waiting for you anyway, is he?
Well, he's with Ian if he need be,
Oh,
and he had some
Oh.
other things he was attending to.
Okay.
gotcha.
All right.
No, he stays busy. Can't keep that
Oh,
man.
yeah.
He can't, he doesn't sit still.
So the only thing I need to report for my report before we go into this is, I delivered those new security cameras to the office yesterday, so they're
Correct.
sitting there.
Yep,
I don't know what the plan is, who's gonna install them, but they're there, we have them.
We need to get the display monitor in, which we need to order. I don't think you ordered it yet,
yeah,
did
are you
you?
gonna make a vote on that, or?
Yeah,
Who are you
Because I
ordering
think,
from?
I think the monitor changed.
Yep.
I have questions.
so now we're into the monitor and Jeff's sitting here waiting for the highway ordinance.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm sorry.
Let's do the highway ordinance first, okay? This is gonna become more of an extended conversation. Okay, good enough.
Okay. So I'm gonna continue this under Wood'a, because Wood'a had additional
Okay, so,
things as well, so.
So
Did you
who's gonna
wanna,
lead this discussion then?
well, I guess I will, since I'm the
Okay.
one who did the additions.
Okay.
You recall when we,
Do you have a copy of this?
Not in front of me, no.
okay,
well, shoot,
yeah, give me,
I have it on here.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
so Nancy took the first cut at revising this ordinance, the highway and parking ordinance. And I came up and said, I'm gonna propose one possible change, see what the consensus is.
And that's exactly how he said it.
Yeah, what if we just take those dates, that time window between snow plowing period, when you can't park on the roads, period, and just extend that year round. And it seemed the other two commissioners were okay with that, so, all right. We put that into the ordinance, but there has to be exceptions. You can't, because there's no way you can ban every single vehicle completely 724. So if you go to section 4, under parking regulations, I added some exceptions for discussion. So I'm just gonna quick read this. Basically, it says no parking of any type of vehicle, and in parentheses, automobiles, motorcycles, trucks, trailers, recreational vehicles, storage containers, among other objects with or without wheels. So basically anything. None of this is permitted on the roads at any time with the following exceptions. So I list 3 exceptions. So the first exception is home building and maintenance contractors may park on the road only if a homeowner's driveway cannot accommodate their vehicles. This type of parking is permitted for the duration of the work being performed during the business day only. Such vehicles cannot remain parked on the street overnight or on the weekend when no active work by the contractor is being performed, and in all cases, no parking before 6 a.m. and after 6 p.m. is permitted. Thinking, who's gonna be working after dark? I know it gets darker, anyway. The second exception was, for our people, VDOE contracted road and water system repairs and maintenance crews, contracted, I'm not talking about DPW, contracted. These crews may park their vehicles on the road for the duration of the work being performed, including after normal business hours emergency work that may have to be performed between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. And then the final one I just stated that Pard Shore Beach is the only beach without a parking lot. Between Memorial Day weekend and September 30th, a maximum of 6 cars, which I think is the right number, that's open for discussion. A maximum of 6 cars may park at the Pard Shore cul-de-sac. This privilege is for VDOE homeowners and their guests only. So this is very rough. I'm not saying this is the land of the law yet. That was my ideas. I didn't change anything else. That was the only thing I changed on the ordinance that Nancy put forth last week.
Are there fuel delivery trucks that park out in the road and run their hose into the property?
There's probably some that do that. I mean, at times, depending on the property and the location of the tanks, I mean, I can't see why they wouldn't do that.
I'm looking at the nature of what is describing here, and I think in a majority of cases, there's someone that's close by that can move that piece of equipment, vehicle out of the way if they need to be. If it's maintenance, if it's construction and so forth, they may have, like last week, there was several vehicles on both sides of Otherwise Drive, and a big tractor trailer came up and barely made it through Otherwise Drive on both sides, and I thought, it might be a tree contractor that has to stop what they're doing, come out on the road, move their vehicle for this guy to get through. So when you were reading that, I was thinking, are there more types of vehicles that,
Yeah, that's
right, that we need to make it a little bit more open? Is there a nature that we should be describing to this, is that someone can move that vehicle that's within earshot, like all the builders that are at a house, you can say, hey, that truck, you need to move that because we need to do blah, blah, blah. And they're not there overnight. But there was a case where someone was ice fishing, do you remember, late this spring? Much to our horror that they were out on the ice when it was getting pretty warm. But that vehicle was just, he was not within earshot of moving it. It was just parked on the road.
Right.
well, this ordinance would forbid that.
Right. I'm just saying, an example that is in recent memory of somebody parking and not being anywhere to be found. That's what I think we want to address, is you can't do that. Or is that making it too vague?
No, I think it takes care of it on the first paragraph of the parking regulations
Of this section,
of the,
4.1?
yeah.
So what
Yeah,
do you?
cause that would be a maintenance contractor. A fuel delivery person or something.
Are you saying 41A or 41?
Well, if you're talking about like any, like random vehicle,
Well,
I mean, first you
I'm
start
looking at
off
fuel
saying
trucks.
you can't park there, period.
that
And
paragraph
then-
doesn't cover fuel trucks or other types of delivery trucks, UPS, FedEx, they're stopping and.
That could be added, but basically, a fuel truck, they're delivering fuel, then they go.
Right, they're there
Yeah.
10,
UPS
20
delivers
minutes.
a package, then they go. But we know that when home builder and maintenance contractors come in, those things are parked all day
Right.
on the road when they're doing their work. And in one case I saw last year, they left one of the big vehicles there overnight.
Yeah, sometimes they'll leave their work trailer, if they have like a box trailer that they work at, if they'll leave that there overnight.
Right. That's why I.
On the road?
Yes,
Yeah, I've seen it on,
Yep,
you know.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
that's why I put the hours,
What I have seen them do is they'll have one truck in a driveway that could take 3 or 4 vehicles. And then park the other vehicles out in the road. Because the vehicle they have closest to the work site, the house, they wanna be able to leave without moving all the other cars.
Mm-hmm,
So this is saying they have to get them all in the driveway. And that's not what they do. They wanna be able to go and get something and drive it right up so it's close that they don't have to carry it far, is my guess as to why there's one vehicle in this driveway that could have 5 vehicles and there's 3 of them out in the road. I think that was happening,
well, again, I guess that's okay for the duration of the work.
right.
We can't be so
can't knock
restrictive
people
that
from working.
we're calling the cops, because what choice do they have? They're doing work, they have to be there, but the point is when the work's finished, they have to move them.
well, I thought it said that they have to be in the driveway if,
Well, I was thinking in terms of like, if it's a single truck and it can fit in the driveway, why park out on the street? Why block the street if you can put it into the driveway? But in some cases, they can't.
so where's that sentence?
That's 41A.
41A.
This type of parking is permitted for the duration of the work being performed during the business day only. Oh, wait a minute, okay. This first one. Home building and maintenance contractors may park on the road only if a homeowner's driveway cannot accommodate their vehicles. So we're saying that's the, maybe I'm not wording it well enough, but the default option is use the homeowner's driveway. But if you have multiple trucks, you can't do that, or the truck's too big, or you're blocking the ability for the
access.
homeowner to get in and out, you can park on the road, but only for the duration of the work being performed. That was my intent.
This is where they describe legislation as making sausage.
Yes. Yes. But I could add, if you wanna add fuel delivery trucks,
Those are
Parcel.
like you said, those are
Normal.
so short
right,
there, you
Right.
know? They're not there 15 minutes.
and most
Right.
of them pull into the driveways. I know AmeriGas will
Yeah.
pull into, they have to in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases they pull into the driveway, because they have to have, their hose with the propane can only reach so far with the tank.
And the delivery guys don't. They don't pull in the driveway.
No, they don't, they don't.
One of them
UPS
pulls.
doesn't.
One of them pulls into the driveway. The other one parks on the street.
Well, you're right. No, so the UPS guy never pulls into my driveway when I
Right.
get UPS.
UPS is always on the street.
FedEx sometimes does,
FedEx
sometimes doesn't.
mostly pulls into my driveway.
Yeah. But again, within 2 minutes, they're there and gone. So-
Yeah,
So, you wanna take this language just as it is then?
I'm okay with that with 41A.
mm-hmm,
Because it does stop the overnight parking and
Yeah, that's a big concern
and the
is
time.
if people leave whatever
Right.
it may be, a storage trailer or something like that on the street after working hours, which I've seen done, but that is something they needed during the workday, We've gotta be able to allow for that, not be so,
Yeah.
bullish that you can't do that, there's no parking, what? That's why these exceptions exist.
Yeah.
Yes, Doug?
Question, is there any way to indicate that a road has to be completely clear if Jeff's crew is grading or ditching or doing some other road work? Can't be any vehicle.
That's a
on the
good
road
question,
for that.
what, during the.
Well, that
summertime, when you're-
happens where, we get out and we'll ask them to move, that we're grading this road today, we catch them early in the day, try to, we go set up our signs and things like that, and then somebody's
And
parking on the
I'm
road.
assuming they've always been accommodated.
Oh, yeah, we've never really run into much trouble with that,
Okay,
but that does happen.
so,
Will we ever make parking spaces on Porridge Shore?
that's, yeah,
We'd have to take a look at that.
when we get to part C, I'm gonna say, I don't think that should be in there.
Okay.
The entire exception,
Uh-huh,
okay. That's what I kinda thought would happen, but because
there
there's
is
no
a,
parking lot.
there is the cul-de-sac,
Yeah,
and 2 cars parked there. And they're in the cul-de-sac, so technically they're on the edge of the road,
Right.
Or the driveway per se.
right,
If you make more spaces, you're making spaces that are gonna have to be signed, that are gonna have to be marked out
Yeah,
to say, these are the assigned spaces.
yep,
And that gets into a little more than what I think we wanna do for a beach that really nobody ever parks at anyway.
I don't know about that.
A few people do.
I see a lot of people using that beach, cause I can see it directly from my house. What I have never done is I really should probably just scoot
Drive
on
over
around
and see
and
the
and
parking.
See how many park,
how many cars are
Right.
actually parking there, cause the cars are parking there. And, unfortunately, there's no parking lot for that particular beach.
Thusis has its little cul-de-sac, and has very limited parking.
But that's off the road. The cul-de-sac is not on the Idle West Drive,
Right,
for Tussis.
right, but if you're gonna say there's gonna be 6 spaces for that beach, how can you not say there's gonna be at least 6 spaces at Thusis?
Okay, because the way I was thinking, Tussis does have parking space. You can't, who knows how many cars you can actually fit in there. Somebody could get creative, but technically, they should be off the road anyway. Okay, but there is no parking lot for Porridge Shore whatsoever. There is for Tussis. There is, it's a fine distinction, but there is. I mean, if you go to Boulder Beach, there's not a whole lot of space for a lot of cars. There are more than
People do
Tussis.
park out on the road when Thusis
Fills up.
circle
Yes.
has is
Right.
completely taken.
Right,
This is saying you can't do that anymore.
Correct?
right,
And
that's true.
You can't park out on Geneva Beach, that's the one that has overflow more often than any of the other beaches.
Right.
But back to Porridge Shore, are we striking 4.1C out of this? I think Woody even said he expected this to get chopped.
Well, I didn't expect it to get chopped. I expected it to be discussed because of the fact that there is no assigned parking lot, actual parking lot for that beach, unlike all the others. No matter, disregard the fact how small.
How'd you arrive
Tussis
at
Beach
6
is.
cars?
I drove down there and took a look and thought, well, you could probably fit 6 in there without congesting the place, but I said, that's open for discussion. We'd all have to take a quick look
I think
at
they
that.
have to be a certain distance from the only driveway to a house that's on that cul-de-sac. So that they're not trying to squeeze between parked cars to
Right.
get in their driveway. So it's hard to mark off.
That was the part I thought would be a discussion, but I
It's
think,
gravel, I mean, you're not gonna control how they park in there. The first car that stops is gonna determine how everybody parks
Right,
for the
that
rest
sets
of
the
the day.
tone,
Right.
yeah,
how you're gonna continue parking in there.
And we are gonna have to do some type of signage.
I mean, cause we would have to do signage.
We would have to.
And also, remember, that's the one beach that we put the porta potty, it's basically on the road, on the cul-de-sac.
It's on the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, it's not on the beach premises itself, like all the other porta potties. So, I don't know, there's, it's a hard what do we do, you know, because the beach is used. I do see people there all the time. I'm not so sure it's VDOE's best little kept secret anymore.
Yeah, it is. It's less of one, but. So we're gonna leave that as it is? Run that up the flagpole, see what people say Saturday?
Yeah,
I don't know how signs make it any better. Does the signs get an illustration of where you park?
The signs are gonna
Yeah,
have,
and markings.
you're gonna have to mark parking spots.
Right,
And you're gonna have to sign them as,
I agree.
this is parking 1 through 6.
And the first car that gets there messes that up.
Right.
well,
parks
yeah, they
like
take 2
That's,
spots.
that's,
dots. You're-
that
They got
happens
a
in
little
park,
bit of number 2 and number 2
All
comes
right,
there.
so-
and
yeah,
halfway
that happens
to
in
number
parking
3.
lots everywhere.
all right. So maybe we strike the assigned number of cars and just saying that we will allow during certain dates, parking on Porridge Shore Drive for access to the beach, and that's it, period. Because that's happening now anyway. But we limit the time period, which would basically just be when people use beaches, and no overnight parking, of course. That was the only road I thought we'd have to make an exception, so people could access the beach.
So we're gonna strike a maximum of 6.
Yes, I think we should get rid of that. That was just a swag on my part.
Just
but-
for logic's sake is, there's
Right.
7 cars there. Who's the 7th car?
And who's enforcing it?
Exactly.
Beach
You know?
patrol.
That's a huge thing,
So,
yeah,
cause you gotta be able to enforce it,
Right.
so,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no,
Somebody's gonna call and go, oh, there's
I
7.
hear you. I hear you. I was just, flying this up the flagpole and that-
Sausage.
Has,
It's all
has
sausage.
parking over there been a problem at some point as to why you wanted to put something in
I've never
here?
heard anybody complain
Okay.
about the parking.
Yeah.
Someone complained about the porta potty, but not the parking.
Right.
Yes.
Well, you know who's gonna do that.
But we've always allowed parking on the road,
Right,
and this ordinance is
Takes it away.
removing
yeah,
the ability to park on the road.
right,
So,
It's been a few years since the office got a complaint,
yeah,
but it has
it
happened.
has happened.
okay, I getcha.
Okay, so let's just get rid of the whole the naming of this quantity of the cars.
Yep,
Yeah,
So, okay,
okay,
so we're gonna get to the part that we held Jeff here for,
yeah,
which isn't on the form yet.
Right, this is gonna be new verbiage added regarding
So I'm not
putting
gonna be
material
reading
into the
anything here.
ditches.
under regulations, right?
That would be under road regulations.
road
correct?
regulations, yep. So, we've got and that's the gross vehicle weight, the 13, that's correct?
Number 13.
No, 3.3.
3.3. Under
Oh,
section 3.
3.3.
We got 13 ton,
Oh,
and then limited to 8 for the mud season, are those correct?
no.
No, that's what I thought.
It's 5 tons, I believe, for the mud season.
Correct, okay.
But geez, the normal one there, I can't, there's a sign right in the beginning of Idlewild
I thought it
Drive.
was 10.
For mud season?
No.
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 Non-mud season.
Right, it might be. I can't think off the top of my head.
We need to find that. I thought it was 10.
I think you're
And then-
right.
Then you cut that in half for mud season.
Yeah, that could be right. But as Mark just said, a tractor trailer truck drives through here every once in a while, or several of them. I mean, are we supposed to just say, hey, yo, buddy, you can't drive through on these roads?
When
I
you
mean,
don't really know how much they weigh.
A 10-wheeler is probably over 10 tons. I mean, if I get my 6-wheeler, the International loaded from Coleman's at times, there could be 10, it doesn't happen a lot, but every now and then there could be over 10 tons in that truck. Or that truck could be weighing over 10 tons.
Yeah, with a 9-ton load, it's
Right.
only 10.
The truck itself with like, an
That's
eight-
that's the gross vehicle.
Right.
What does Madison use? What is their, do we know?
I don't know.
Should we just duplicate what Madison uses?
So that's always been there forever, that sign, but it's never followed. I mean, like I said, a 10-wheeler comes in here, triaxles come in here. I mean, we have triaxle deliveries for things.
So, we have signs up, we need to read the signs and make this text match the signs.
Right,
Yes.
Okay.
right,
yes.
that's
We
for
don't need
sure.
to discuss
Okay,
Okay,
it anymore today.
Okay,
Next.
okay, that's where the, steel track is. The next parts are on speed bumps, so I'm thinking we can move down section 3.5 and 3.6.
so 3.5 becomes 3.6 and 3.6 becomes 3.7.
Yep,
And we have a new 3.5.
3.5. And that's where we will put the statement of, the ditching, putting stuff in the ditches. So what's the best way to word that?
Something to the effect, I'm just gonna go stream of consciousness here for a second. Homeowners are not permitted to clear their yards of any debris into VDOE roadside ditches, including leaves, sticks, rocks, dead bodies. You know.
The furniture they like to leave out there for free. So somebody always wants it.
We can leave that in the driveway, not in our ditches, yeah.
Okay, no debris of any type, including,
Leaves.
Don't say, just say such as. We can't list everything, but
yeah,
if of any debris, such as, and then add that, and it, among others. So we're covered anything. We could find something really weird in the ditches, well, that's not in your ordinance. Doesn't
Right.
matter, it says anything.
boulders, rocks,
so leaves, rocks.
Sticks, logs, branches, debris, any debris.
Okay, so leaves, rocks, any of that, any type of debris. We'll list some. So that'll be 3.5.
mm-hmm,
Anything else you can think of that things should be right in this road regulations?
I don't know.
Those are the issues you've had in the last.
Right, the
12
debris,
months.
yeah, the debris and
Is
the
de-
ditch lines and things like that, I mean, that's important.
Yeah, that's the big one. We're
Yeah,
spending
I'm
all this
actually
money on
surprised it's
trying
not
to
in
create
here already.
ditching.
Drainage
What about
is-
redirecting water?
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to redirect water, I mean, but that goes on property and all sorts of things.
Jesus,
Well, people redirect the ditch lines.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't touch the ditch lines, I mean,
Okay, so that's something, yeah, and, homeowners are not permitted to alter.
I guess they do that by violating the thing you just wrote. The example was on Jungfrau, if you remember at the very end, the corner of Jungfrau and Aspen.
Yep.
The guy made an array of stones that
yes,
redirected the water out into the road.
yep,
He actually came here
yes,
and then saw the light, went home and fixed it.
right, yep,
So that's really covered by what you just wrote.
With the no debris,
Well, the rocks, yeah.
no debris rocks.
oh,
They
yeah,
use
no
materials
alternating
to
ditch
do
lines
that.
by adding
Leaves,
debris, rocks,
Oh, okay.
brush.
Brush. So leaves, rocks, and brush as the primary things we're gonna use as examples?
Yeah,
any debris,
You had somebody change the direction by using logs, cut logs on Salins and Bristenstock.
too.
yeah, I mean, that
That was on private property.
was his own property.
But it came down,
But it came and washed our road,
Right.
because it couldn't stay in the
Yeah.
Is it redirected water?
You redirected water, yeah.
That's the big problem. I haven't got to the point of telling you the rest of my report. I sent a picture this morning of, actions up on Briggy.
Oh, yeah.
I read the
There's a
report, yeah.
tent and there's
Okay,
lawn chairs and there's a wood
I've
chipper.
resolved that mystery.
Yeah, it's the same
I
person.
know who, yeah.
Yeah, same person when I bushwhacked there last
Yeah.
year, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure. Same person,
and that's a
yeah.
police issue.
Well, it's whether they redirect water. I don't know if it goes in here, but at some point, the village has to get a hold of how all the water flows and knows if anybody redirects on their private property, it's gonna affect the roads and all the property owners downstream, going downhill,
Including class 6.
anywhere.
Yeah.
In this case, it's class 6.
Mm-hmm.
Is, right now, it's gonna come down, whatever water's redirected by these actions, we're not even gonna see them because it's on a class 6 road that we're not on to see.
Correct.
But we're gonna see it when it comes down into a problem area, which is Schweiss. And maybe what we were seeing is a result of actions that are already taking place
From the
up
river.
higher.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm getting at.
I-
So I don't wanna take a lot of time, I don't know if it even fits into this thing and whether we're ready to do that, but in the long term, we have to get a handle on all this stuff.
Yeah, and when we get to the driveway ordinance, there is a section in there, that talks about, any changes that you make that alters flow downstream, you can be held liable for it.
I thought that was already in there.
Yeah, it's in
That's
the
what she's
driveway,
saying.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that's already in the driveway
By
ordinance.
doing the driveway.
Yeah,
But I'm-
downhill driveway.
I'm saying they're changing it so they can put the house foundation in right where a stream is currently seasonally flowing. That's happening on Edelboden, that's happening on Bristenstock. And you can see the results on the class 6 roads when you walk them, but you guys don't see that stuff.
Mm-mm.
Like class 6 Thusis had a bed of sand right down the road in the middle of it, and all that sand came from Bristenstock. Lots of sand.
But regardless, whether it's on a class 6 road, they still have to get a driveway permit through us. And unless they have a driveway permit, they can't get a building permit through the town of Madison. And I imagine the building permit is gonna get into the detail about trying to build a house on a stream or in the area of a stream or something like that, wouldn't it?
I don't think so.
They don't look at that?
When they go for the building
They have
permit,
code
they've
enforcement
already,
out there?
they've already redirected the stream. Before they apply for a building permit, the property owner's out there saying, I want my house here, but look at that culvert up the hill is coming down this way, I'm gonna start putting stones up there and make it go around. I have an example at, Upper Lakeview, where there's a house with no driveway, no water, no power.
Mm-hmm.
First thing they did was redirected the water coming out of a black plastic culvert to go away from where they wanted to put the house. That changes everything downhill.
So wouldn't that then go into this ordinance regarding what we're talking about right now? If we're saying
Like
no
redirecting
debris in the ditches, also no tampering of VDOE owned culverts and ditches.
This is too hard for right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should stop by saying, we need to solve this problem. It's not gonna be solved in this ordinance here. Because they're not
Right.
doing it in the ditch lines, they're not doing it on the roads, they're doing it on their own property.
Right.
But it's gonna, when it goes downhill in the new direction, it screws up all of this.
Yeah, okay, all right, you're right, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on from this.
Okay. Alright, so
Watch for examples of this happening,
we'll be adding,
particularly this one on Riggy. This is whenever these things are happening, we have to start watching where the water's going. We have to know where it is. As soon as we know that somebody's doing something like this, we have to document the way the water's flowing and then see if they change it. And then make ordinances somehow that protects us from thousands of dollars of reconstruction of roads. We'll get a handle on it.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a while.
Put the hiking boots back on.
Okay, so right now the only change that we'll be doing
Is the addition of the debris and ditches.
is the, okay,
Your new 3.5.
okay.
And then verify the weightage, the gross
Yep.
vehicle,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I'll reword that final take that 6 cars out and just reword that.
I
slightly.
know the one is 5 for the mud season.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
But I think the one is 10 out on the road right now, but I'll check that
Okay.
and I'll leave a message in the office.
I'm betting it's 13.
It could be.
I'm not sure. No. Okay. So
13
next,
seems to make more sense, but I thought I saw 10 one time.
I was gonna say 13 is what you
we'll read the sign.
Yes.
Next.
normally see.
I think so.
Moving on.
That's,
All done?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
So do we need a motion to incorporate today's changes into the document that goes to the hearing on Saturday?
Well, I'll make a motion that Jeff will find out 10 or 13.
Yeah.
I'll redo 41C and Nancy will add the addition of 3.5. We'll get it all to Jennifer before Saturday, for
And
this week.
we can vote on it Saturday morning before the hearing starts, that this is the document.
That this is what we'll produce. Do we wanna do a PowerPoint? I think it's easier to just give people paper.
Just give them a copy of the proposed ordinance.
Okay,
Yeah, in color,
yes.
so it outlines like, yeah,
How many?
it's very visual.
Well, if it's a Saturday, it's gonna rain. So people have nothing else to do.
Right.
So I made a motion. Are we gonna strike that or
We
are
are.
we just gonna second,
15
vote on it and go
Um,
onward?
Okay, restate it, please.
Okay, I make a motion that Jeff will find total tonnage, non-mud season. I will rewrite 401C, you will add in 3.5, we'll all submit it to Jennifer for what will be presented to the public hearing this Saturday.
for
Second.
print. Yep,
Further discussion, all in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
3-0.
okay.
Now what?
I think that's it for Jeff.
I think, yeah.
Okay,
You can get back to work.
I'll get back at
Thank you.
it. You got it,
Yep.
thank you. And thanks again for the bonus.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
There'll be more coming.
I'll keep the pictures coming then.
Yeah, well, we need to talk about,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll come up and see
Thank
you
you.
at some point.
All right, back to the agenda.
okay.
So I guess we were into my commissioner's report.
Yeah, we
Before
were,
we
and then
went
we
off on
went off
to-
to what
Well, we went to my commissioner's report,
Yeah.
but okay, but now it's back to you.
Do you have anything else?
Well, we
Lorna?
went
No.
to
No.
this ordinance so that you could have Jeff here. for
Right,
the
Yes.
changes,
right.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, to see if he
But
had
that
any
was- That was
input.
part of what is,
I reported that I delivered the cameras, what happens next, I don't know, and then it got into discussion of the monitor, and Jennifer wasn't
yeah,
sure about.
we gotta clear that up. Unless you wanted to make a motion to order the monitor that is the last,
Yes, let's pick up on that
Selected.
while you
Okay,
have
very
that
good.
raised. So we're gonna order a wall mounting bracket that can swivel around so
Yeah.
that Jennifer can see this monitor from her seat. But it can be redirected where if we're looking at a particular issue, there can be several people looking at it. That requires the monitor to have these four mounting bolts in the right place as a standard VESA.
Yeah.
Visa, yeah.
Mhm.
So I went back and found a 20-inch monitor that had the
Yeah.
VESA and
Yep.
the four holes are 75 millimeters apart that this stand requires.
mhm,
And
So
that's
you
the
wanna
one
hear a
that,
motion
yeah,
to buy the 20-inch monitor and the
the
Yeah.
Bracket.
Mounting
Bracket with
Yeah.
armature with
Yeah.
VESA
Second.
mounting, yeah,
Further discussion?
That's the one that she can
yeah.
Yeah.
move around freely.
This is gonna
Okay.
be
We saw the
mounted,
picture.
mounted over the end of the table where the closet is,
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, the bracket allows you, it's like
Wait.
on an elbow.
where the cables for the
Swings.
old camera system used to come down out of
Yeah.
the ceiling.
Yep. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
3-0. So that's the monitor.
Yep,
Are we going to hire the electrician to install?
Yes, I don't know if we're ready for that yet.
we can.
Okay.
There's one more thing I wanna check out, and that is to how to get cameras to the far side of the garage, where the side entrance door to the garage is,
Uh-huh.
where where the sander racks are to give you
Yeah.
that area.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we can put a wireless camera into this 8-camera system. But I'd like a little time to investigate that, to see if we can get that solved before we have the contractor actually start to install it. I think it would be better.
Okay.
is it because the cable there's not enough
There's
length
60-foot
of,
cables, and the garage is 3 bays. It's longer than 60 feet to get there.
Oh,
So either we're
So-
shooting down the sides of the building, or we shouldn't discuss it in too great
Okay.
detail
Right.
now.
yeah.
okay,
If we can just hold off,
Gotcha.
if you're
Yeah.
okay with holding off installation till I can.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And
Can
we're
I,
not ready for that anyway yet. You said so.
right. One thing I wanna get to before, FEMA sent us a check for $42,000 to do architectural engineering for the Grissom culvert.
Mhm.
And I wanna straighten out the way the terms are. You heard me describe before that I had to sign off that the project is to replace the 30-inch culvert that's been at the bottom of the ravine, the original culvert, even though FEMA in New Hampshire know that we're not doing that, that we're going to try to get an arch culvert in short. Well, so we were notified that they approved the architectural engineering, and in the same day, within minutes, we got a notification that they ACH'd over $42,000 into our bank account. So in talking to them, I said, when is it we're gonna change the spec? Cause I've signed off on a spec saying we're gonna change the 30-inch culvert the way it is at the bottom of the ravine. And then I followed up with emails between us where New Hampshire and FEMA is on record saying, we know you're not doing that. We're gonna change the spec after it gets approved. So it got approved, they shot the money in the bank, and I'm asking them, when are we gonna change the spec, so I don't go to prison? And they said, spend the money, get the engineering change done, get us the price on what it's gonna cost to do the arch culvert, then we'll change the spec. Well, we're not gonna have the engineer start working on changing the design until the end of the summer. And, so I would like to put the architectural engineering money, the 42,000, into a separate account, so that it's not mixed with anything else where we accidentally do something with it that we regret. And my idea is to put it into a CD at a local brick and mortar bank, which is required by New Hampshire law.
Yes.
And we can get 4% interest for 5 months by moving it to, an example, a Citizens Bank here. There are other banks down in Concord that we could do it, but there's a branch of Citizens right here in the valley that,
so it has to be a separate bank than our normal
No.
operating
it
fund.
doesn't have to be.
no.
We could leave
Oh,
it in
good.
our bank and just account for it. But unlike giving it to the trustees, which is one of the ideas that I thought of, or leaving it in our accounts where we just are accounting for it, saying our QuickBooks knows that it's over here, and Jennifer knows it's over here, and we're not touching it. We have an opportunity to put it into an account where it's completely physically separated, but also gaining 4% interest, cause we know we're not gonna,
Right, that makes sense. I was just wondering why go to another bank where when the CD matures and we need the money, it can just be zap it into our.
the banks that we do business with don't offer anywhere near 4%.
Ah,
Have
that's,
you
so
checked
that's the reason.
Camden?
That's the answer.
Yes,
They don't have anything?
no,
I think
Okay.
that was the first one. I
That was the
checked.
answer I was looking for. Now it makes
yeah,
sense.
well, I looked at Camden first.
Yeah.
Which is why I started hunting for another bank.
Don't
And it
believe
was
the online rate, that they do
Cannot.
a lot better.
It has got to be brick and
It has to be in
mortar.
the state of New Hampshire as a
In New
building.
Hampshire.
You cannot put it on an online account.
No. Don't believe the online CD rate on on Camden's website.
Oh,
They do a lot better than that.
oh, they
We've got a
do.
whole bunch of CDs in there, I know.
So you're saying go in person and check it out first. Okay.
Interesting.
I'll do that.
The online rate
Nice.
is like,
Do you have any problem
1%.
with the idea of a CD?
No.
No,
30 years ago, we used to get the TAN money. And the TAN interest rate that we had to pay on the loan was much less than what the CDs were offering at that point. So that at that time, the treasurer used to take the entire TAN loan and put it into CDs of different durations. And they would mature and she would put it into the, so it's been done before. I don't know if anything changed with the RSA's that you can't do that anymore, but.
I'm sure you can do CDs.
Yeah. Seems like a common sense move.
So when does it have to mature by, the CD?
The one that I looked at Citizens was a 5-month, which fits into when Nick expects to start working on the new design of the culvert.
We're already in June, so we're looking at the end of the November. Okay. I thought you said somewhere at the end of the summer, so you really mean the end of the year?
Well, he's gotta invoice us before we pay it, so we have to start him in the fall, end of the summer, fall, and I'm expecting the invoices to come in around then. The other part about this is that I wrote an email to the lady at New Hampshire DES Wetlands Permitting that signed the
Yeah.
permit for the existing design, asking her to give us some guidance and help with whether she sees it possible for us to just change the design of the culvert within the existing wetlands permit to work in that area. And that's what Nick is hoping, is that the current wetlands permit that has the box culvert, concrete box culvert, they allow us to just change the box culvert to the arch culvert. And the wetlands permit doesn't change by one letter. So we'll see what she says.
Oh, interesting.
Well.
Instead of starting the whole
not-
wetlands permitting
Not if
over
they
again.
have an issue with it, then it won't be interesting, it'll be aggravating, but okay.
See how-
Yeah, I know, I saw that, that was,
And the company that quoted 2 different types of culvert, based on the feedback from the contractor, we're not gonna look at the aluminum solution at 44,000 current pricing. We're gonna go with the galvanized steel, which is heavier and more rugged. I'm working on the asphalt roads. I marked off, Young Fallon spoke to the DPW about it. I'm gonna go around and have a plan for each of the 7 roads. And have that, my plan is to have that to go out to bid later in the summer, midsummer hopefully. So we wouldn't be seeing any invoices or be collecting any money from FEMA for months on this part. We're gonna focus on ditching roads and gravel. And I think what we're heading towards is that Appinville Way will be completely done, including the gravel. And Bergdorf will be completely done. New water main ditched, 3-inch gravel surface. Take pictures, send it home. And then we'll knock off as many more roads as we can this summer.
okay.
And everything else I already told you about. Did we hear from Camden about,
Yes, we did.
mind if we jump to that?
Yeah, that was
well-
good.
Because on my list is, I'm talking to the attorney over in Freiburg and I'd like to get him fired up if we're gonna use him.
Okay, so, I actually talked to a person, he ended up being very nice, even though he didn't call me back for a week. What he needs from us right now are 2 years of audits.
Yep, which I gave
Which
you
were sent.
the
Yeah. The
response he
screenshot, yep.
has. Yep,
So, once he sees the audits, he will then offer us an interest rate, which we can accept or not, and then we can proceed in. Now, I'm not sure about the, bond counsel thing. It says here, now we just need to know about engaging an independent bond counsel. So I'm thinking we can perhaps use the guy in Freiburg, but I'm gonna find out for sure
okay,
and let you know.
yep,
I'm sure he would be a lot cheaper than Divine and Millement, or whoever they are. So, once they know
Does this
that,
guy have an email address?
this guy that I'm talking to?
Yes.
yeah, I forwarded it to you, you
At
guys
Camden?
have it. Yep.
The bond council or Camden?
Yeah, so yesterday I emailed it around 2:09. And it has his information.
So you want us to wait to hear what the interest rate that he's offering before we ask about whether we can use our attorney from last year to do the attorney's letter on the...
If you wanna email him and ask him, you can.
Okay. And I have the email. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure every bank is gonna want the independent, yes, we're allowed to take TANs, lawyer's letter.
But the thing is, they might want us to use Divine and Millement, who will probably be a lot more expensive
Their lawyer.
than
So
our
that-
little guy in Freiburg.
So we didn't ask that question directly,
No, I didn't ask that directly.
so that's what I'll do in an email, say.
Okay.
Cause I don't wanna get hung up at the end and us
Right.
in a time race for cash flow,
We'll be okay.
so I'll do that.
Okay. So, will you be able to send those two files,
What files?
Audits.
the audits?
They were already sent, so his confirmation is saying that he's received and that's why he's,
Oh, you did get it done
yeah, I
yesterday.
did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, you silly thing.
Well, I
see?
tried to call you, but you wouldn't pick up.
That's probably taking a nap.
That's okay.
Okay, so he has those.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and he doesn't need any more.
No.
So,
So I get, yeah, now we need just to know about engaging an independent bond counsel.
I'll do that
yeah,
today.
and the rate,
And he'll give us the rate.
Yep.
He hasn't done that yet.
no,
Okay. I really miss my little people.
I know. Yeah, it's all different now.
At first we weren't even talking the same language, but then, oh my God. You need an MS-60W.
Oh, God.
And I went, what's that? You ever heard of a 60W?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's,
MS-6?
it has to do with audits.
It has to do with whether or not you have a, private auditor that is elected, appointed, or if you use a, outside auditor like we do.
Okay. He said, just ask your treasurer, they should know about it.
Oh, you're
and I
funny.
said, well, I'm the treasurer, I've never heard of it. I said, well, that's a good thing. I don't know why it's a good thing, but anyway, okay.
Probably because he knew that we, yeah.
Alright, so that was a
Is this
question I
your
had in my
check?
commissioner's report, I've covered everything
Okay.
that I had.
Okay.
And Woody, you finished your
Okay, and
commissioner's
Yeah,
report?
I'm done. Yeah.
Nancy, did you have a report?
Okay, so we're now with Nancy,
Mhm.
okay?
I'm gonna pick up on something that you stated, and Jen can confirm whether or not there was a motion. I don't believe there was a motion. We should make a motion, or make a motion to take the funds from FEMA in the amount of $42,000, or what the
Plus.
exact amount is.
Yeah,
And put it into a CD. And that way we don't specifically have to say what bank,
correct.
to put it into a CD for future engineering costs or upcoming
Fees, engineering
fees,
fees.
yeah.
Second,
Aye.
Aye.
3-0.
Okay, and at the same time, I'm also gonna make a note off this on the motion log, so that, and we can make this official as well, I'll make this the motion, that we will not be using this income, cause it is income, to offset taxes when we do the DRA form in the fall. It will
Good,
be
thank you.
protected.
Second,
Aye.
Aye.
3-0.
Okay, so that's mine. This is mine.
So I'll just quickly say while you're searching the stuff,
Yeah, and I didn't have anything else.
we have a water assessment fund that has upwards of $300,000 in it.
Yes,
We should talk about CDs at another time with that money, cause it's not trustee money, it's not.
correct, we can have a separate,
We can make, stop.
separate discussion on that. Oh, and the one other thing to finish my report, I did look through the employee handbook.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Went through the entire thing.
Yeah.
There's a couple of editor issues where something says it's page 3 point whatever and it's on page 6, you know?
Yeah.
So there's a couple little things like that. Otherwise, it's fine. I wanna make sure that I'm looking at the most current version, cause I know they added one federal holiday after the feds made, Juneteenth a holiday, so that got added. And the one I was looking at does not have that holiday listed.
But we voted
but-
not to have that as a holiday. Yeah.
correct.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because the state of New Hampshire has not,
No.
and we gave you guys a different day. So we didn't take the holiday away,
Yeah,
we added the day after, cause Christmas is
2
a
half days.
Thursday.
Wasn't it 2 half days that it?
No.
Yeah, no, Christmas is a Thursday, so we gave them Friday off.
Friday, that's correct. That was
So,
it.
so
Yeah.
we did not
Okay,
reduce the amount of holidays.
Correct.
We just simply, are not recognizing
Yeah.
because the state has not accepted it yet.
correct.
That may change, you know?
True. I know the banks have it off. Post office has it off.
Yes,
Federal, it's recognized federally.
right.
Are you done, Nancy?
I think so.
Can I go
So,
back?
yeah, like I said, there was nothing else that I found, and the job descriptions are not in the handbook. They are separate.
Okay.
Can I go back to your
That's very
comment on
good.
the assessment fund and CDs?
Mm.
When we set that up, it was like fairly clear that what was supposed to happen was that you would put money in a capital reserve if you had too much money in there. I don't know how black and white that is.
I think it's that the DRA says that the commissioners vote to move money out of the capital reserve, out of the assessment fund into capital reserves, or pay bills directly out of it, which we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
But we made no stipulation as to what bank it has to be in.
Well, the capital reserve is the,
That goes to the
Trust funds.
trustees,
right.
which means we're not getting 4% CD return
Well,
on it.
I'm just wondering how ironclad that rule is.
There's nothing to say that we have to move it to the capital reserves.
No, but it's nothing, but it sort of says specifically move it to the capital reserves, not a CD.
If you don't move it to the capital reserves, it sits in a bank account.
It's
So why can't the bank account be high interest?
oh, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'll check that out. I think I still have the paperwork on that.
Yeah, I'm only raising the notion to discuss this.
Okay, well, I just
We're
wanted
not
to
making any
discuss that.
decisions, yes? So take a look at that if you have a
will.
chance.
So this is a return check?
Okay. I'm assuming it is,
Yep. Did
but I never got a letter.
you didn't get the check back, you don't know what check it is?
No, they haven't sent me anything and he can't tell me what it is for.
you're
However,
not on the
however, I believe it is this right here. This one that I deposited that day, because he gave me the deposit date.
Okay, so
I need to
while they're doing
confirm
that,
that. He won't tell me.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do, there's one check to me I
Yes,
can't
but
sign.
you gotta bring it back to
Someone
me.
else has
Oh,
to
yeah,
sign.
I'll put it back in.
Reimbursement check for the
Okay.
cameras.
Okay.
So this is the one that
better not
I
sign it.
believe is no good.
we,
But-
we can't do this now.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
So, on number 6, we have water system Ian Hayes, we talked about him starting
Correct.
today, tomorrow, and Wednesday.
Yep,
We have no scheduled appearances, so at 11 o'clock exactly, we move to the administrator's report. We have a driveway application for 21 Upper Lakeview.
yep, so this is the Riggy picture. Does belong to this
Yep.
gentleman here. And I reviewed this a little with you when you were in the office. He wants the driveway on Riggy. He's completed the application on the Upper Lakeview Drive, but he says it's too difficult to think about putting a driveway in that area. So he's looking to put his driveway entrance on Riggy.
So is all the information from Riggy? The address, everything listed as Riggy?
No, he did not complete it on, as Riggy because the property isn't listed as Riggy.
We can get that fixed.
Correct.
So he should change
So-
the address of the lot before we start into this driveway permit?
Yes?
He's
Oh.
also gonna move that stuff out of the Classics Road before.
Correct.
Right in the middle of the
He
road.
does, so the way this happened was, a gentleman who has a house up on Upper Lakeview noticed a trailer in a truck going down Class 6 Riggy. And he let me know that he thought they were dumping, because the trailer came out empty. So I had a moment after I
Wow.
met with the DPW guys at 7 o'clock yesterday morning. I went up to Riggy and walked down and saw that they had bushwhacked the Classics Road to a wide opening.
Mm-hmm.
And then down, they have where they want this driveway built marked off with flagging tape and stakes. And then this tent that I have a picture of with the lawn chairs and the wood chipper is right at the entrance of the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have to get them to move that stuff out of there and realize you just can't do anything you want. This is not the Yukon where you're out there by yourself and there's no rules. I don't see a negative grade on the drawing from the side profile picture.
Isn't it kind of flat there? No? It's not flat?
Well,
Okay,
he shows
so-
a culvert
I don't
there, so
know.
there's gotta be some sort of,
There's no culvert there. He's
no,
proposing a
he's
culvert.
proposing a culvert. So he would technically be digging a negative grade to accommodate the culvert.
You're gonna go out there with us, like we normally do,
Yeah,
and maybe the
bushwhack.
DPW.
Yep. Yep.
So there's no guessing as to what this is
Yeah.
saying, but I don't see a drawing where there's a negative grade that would feed where that culvert is proposed to go on that driveway
Yeah,
profile.
we need to know where the water's going, exactly.
And you'll see that you walked up the slope. It's the same place you walked up to
Last
get
year,
there,
yeah.
yes.
The Biddy Boo Tavern, yep, or,
I don't know if you've ever been down, you haven't been down Riggy to see it from that perspective. You've only seen this from Upper Lakeview down.
Correct.
So it's not a bad walk to get down there. The walk back is straight uphill, but, so, do you wanna wait until he moves his tent and stuff out of the Classics Road before we even will look at his driveway permit?
Oh, the tent's not on his property, it's on the,
It's in the
Riggy?
road.
It's in the
It's in the
road.
It's on Riggy? Really?
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying is.
Yeah, he's, oh, okay, then that's gotta go.
You asked them to not violate code by having,
I said any object
And
with
now-
or without wheels.
now he's decided to put it up in the middle of a class 6 road, so.
Yeah. Well, he's better off what he did last year.
So I say that we don't go out and do this driveway inspection until we know that he's moved stuff out of the class 6 road.
Okay, I agree.
We have a way of communicating with him?
I did. I communicated with them this morning to verify if that was his stuff. And sure enough, it was.
Oh, because you saw the picture?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he said yes.
He said yes.
And he knows to move it out of there.
He knows he's gonna
Okay.
have to do something with it, so.
He has the number.
Of,
All information states 21 Upper Lakeview,
Yes.
but driveway proposed is 15
Right.
Riggy Road.
Hmm.
So it all needs to change to 15 Riggy Road.
And how does he do that?
He fills out a new application with the address as 17 Riggy Road.
doesn't he have to get the town to
17 or
change the
You
address
just
first?
said it was,
Right now, our records from the town have that as an Upper Lakeview lot, right?
correct, that's what he's
So
indicating.
doesn't he have to start with the town and get that changed to Riggy? Like
But
the guy on Burn should have done, or the guy that had the lot before you?
Correct.
Yeah, we can start with the town. Make sure that they have the number for Riggy.
He has to do that. We're not doing that.
Well,
Yeah, he would. He would, but since he has it listed as 17, I think he might have already.
he did, but he said he didn't really get assistance as to what he needed to do that, so
Okay.
that's when he ended up coming into the office with that current application right there.
Okay.
So he has not been to town hall to do any of this yet?
He has been to town hall, yes.
And that's how he came up with the 17 Riggy Road address?
I don't know. He was given a form that is attached to that, and they told him, this is, you're gonna have to complete this, but he didn't get any real explanation or anything like that, so,
That's third hand, don't say that.
well,
He-
that's.
All
what
we
I told
wanna
him.
do is say he has to get this changed by the town, period.
Correct.
And I will do that.
No descriptions of the discussions he has with
Complete,
them or anything.
complete a new application that indicates the correct address.
The correct address.
Move
Yep.
your,
And it's a
Move your
notice.
stuff.
It's a notice of restriction. So it's a class 6 notice.
for
you know,
the
that you're
town.
building on a class 6 road is the form that's also going to need to be
You have to
completed.
sign the
Yeah, that's
waivers
what-
with the town for that and.
Yes.
That's what they
Yes,
gave him.
that's what is attached. What's in the back.
Okay,
Do you
Alright,
need a motion on
so-
any of this?
no, not at all. No, we're not really doing anything, so. And I needed to talk to her.
Okay, so. We covered the driveway application for 21 Upper Lakeview / Riggy Drive, and then the second is the wall monitor, which we covered also.
Correct. And I got the approval to order,
You have anything else?
not me.
Okay, so, we have no old business table items, we go to signature items at 11:08, and we have the sheriff's office tower letter agreement. Is that to
Yeah,
be
so,
signed?
so, yeah, you guys didn't have a chance to come into the office.
No.
You're gonna sign, originally gonna sign this out of,
Out of session,
Session.
but it's here, so.
so I wrote one up, but you might wanna read it because you didn't look at the final draft before it was put on letterhead. So I just want you to quickly read it before you sign it.
You can read it out loud, so that it's not a secret vote.
Okay. Sheriff Ricciardi, at the VDOE annual meeting, the voters passed an amendment to the Sheriff's Tower Agreement as follows. to see if the VDOE legislative body would vote in favor of advising the VDOE governing body to pursue the lease renewal agreement with the Carroll County Sheriff's Department and any other agencies using our premises, with direct payment of monetary consideration. Please review the following. Gives a YouTube address.
Yep,
Based on this, the VDOE would like to know if there are any other entities who may be benefiting in the use of the VDOE Cabana Building and Tower other than your department and the town of Conway. As we are aware that your office also has a voted budget, we would like to discuss the amount of $500 and at what point the VDOE could expect that monthly payment to begin. Please let us know when you'd be available to meet. Sincerely, Board of Commissioners, Village District of Idlewice.
Come out. YouTube address? Not the link to the minutes.
it's the link to the minutes,
Oh,
to
It says
the,
YouTube in the
it says
URL.
yeah, it says
well,
YouTube.
that's how they can access it, they can type that in.
But that gets in the video, not the minutes.
Correct.
Yeah, we want the minutes. The minutes of the annual meeting, right?
You mean the written minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
Oh,
so it has to go
I'm
to
sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't know, I thought it was like the whole video of the
so it goes to our website.
meeting. Oh, crud, I was so close.
It's okay, that's why we're,
It's very well done.
otherwise everything looks good.
All right.
So
You
now,
Change
guys
the
now we'll
wanna
sign
sign
it,
us
now
out?
we'll
we
sign
also
it out
have
of
it in
session.
yes.
We already ordered to do it that way, so.
Okay, very good,
Alright, so we took care of that for now.
thank you.
And we have no non-agenda items, no non-public session. Next meeting will be this Saturday at 10 a.m. here for a hearing.
One
Yes.
thing, public appearance,
Yeah.
just for clarification on the kayak racks at Idlewice Beach. I've got your direction, you'd like to have us explore a wooden walkway. Is it okay, we didn't really clarify, is it okay for me to reach out to DES and start the process, get the discussion going? Find out if they need to approve it or not. My read is that any renovations, changes, anything has to be reviewed by them.
This can't be handled by just a building through the town of Madison?
It's within the 250-foot shoreline protection. I mean, they might say you don't need us to comment on it, but I'd hate to go all the way through and then say, hey.
Well, you raised it at a public meeting, so you opened the can of worms, now you have to do it.
Yeah, I think that's the
So-
correct way.
Yeah,
If they want it permitting, I'm out. This is,
yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna be in favor of going for any DES permits for a kayak rack. I'd take the racks out first,
yes,
Okay.
which has been discussed many, many times over the course of the years.
many,
Why-
many.
Why not permitting?
Because now you're gonna need a design,
To submit to them?
Yep,
and now you're entering into,
uncharted waters.
but let us know how you make out.
Just trying to solve a problem.
Yeah,
This apparently been a problem for decades.
yeah.
Right, but the permitting may create more
It
problems.
wasn't a good idea to put in canoe racks
In the first
in the
place,
first place.
correct.
We just go further and further, don't
That's
we?
what happens.
I suppose.
How long
It's-
has this been in for?
It started with,
Never mind.
Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, never mind.
I just want a year figure, how many years has it been ago where they put in, that's all I wanted to know.
For the racks.
25,
Okay.
30?
there were rebar cement
Oh,
tie-ups for canoes on the ground at Little P. And we had a chief of police of Idlewice. He had his picture, color picture taken, and it was on the front page of the Union Leader, with him standing as if they were beach whales and he had shot them all. Then a lady up on Oak Ridge Road, Presidential View, suggested that we put in wooden racks. That was the camel's head entering the tent.
Okay,
Yeah, and it went from there.
okay.
It went from one rack to several racks on Little P to racks on every beach,
Right.
to having them put into places where it got wet, and a system that costs us money and aggravation to run, and it takes up beach space. People now privately own untaxed beach space when I don't think they have any right to that. And the problem just continues into DES permits for where they put the canoe rack, cause it's wet.
Yep.
It's like,
Okay. Just the problem is now people expect them, so,
Yeah.
Okay.
we spent a lot of
For
time
sure.
talking
Yeah.
about this today.
all right.
Uh-huh.
That's all, I just wanted to know, quick history.
Mhm.
Actually, just the amount of years.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 11:14.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you, Carol.